Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and it is time once again to dive into another product review. A while back, I took a look at a little game called Sacrifice, a tabletop game inspired by Berserk, among other things, which I quite enjoyed. In the time since, the people behind that one, Black Oath Entertainment, have produced a little companion book to it appropriately called Sacrifice Companion, which they were kind enough to send me a review PDF of. It presents new rules, options, and locations for use with a Sacrifice RPG. Now, I meant to cover this one almost as soon as it came out, but my scheduling interfered as usual, so I suppose it's better late than never. Before I get into the review proper, though, let me take a moment to thank my channel sponsor for this month. World Anvil is a set of world-building tools for gamers and authors, featuring templates for articles on characters, locations, and legends, the ability to make interactive maps and timelines with the Chronicles system, organizational charts, and even random tables. It comes out of the box with support for over 45 role-playing systems, with homebrew support and more to make it easy to organize, track, and share lore between players and GMs. And all of the same techniques used to flesh out a world for gaming can be used by authors and other creatives who can build out their plots and story events, and even monetize their world by offering exclusive access to sections of the lore, articles, and the stories that they write. World Anvil has a few pricing tiers suited for different needs, and right now you can get 40% off of any yearly subscription by using the coupon code RPGCrawler when you sign up with my link. Companion is a small little offering, just about 35 pages, including the cover and the PDF, and is available as a PDF or a soft cover black and white print. This review will focus on the PDF version. In terms of layout, it is largely a compact 2-column format with full-width gray box tables where appropriate to present information, and a mix of inline, full-width, and full-bleed illustrations in a style similar to those of the original book. The chosen font is rather pleasantly clear, and the writing style is concise and easily understood. Technically, I noticed very few to no errors, typos, etc., and about the only proper criticism I have is that in certain D100 style tables, the action table or the theme table, for instance, in fact I think those are the main two, the text alignment on the entries just makes the columns of the table a little bit difficult to follow. So instead of being left justified and all in one row, they're kind of center justified. Although I suppose that does break the line for the eye, so it might make it easier for some people to follow. It's a little nitpick, I know, just a mixed point. On toward the actual content, Companion is a very brief product, just as the original Sacrifice game was, and it's comprised of only 8 sections. There's new occupations, expanded rules for weapon investment, more information on wounds taken during character creation, variations on leveling, new, more intricate combat options, additional feats and maneuvers to flesh out the new occupations or expand on current ones, rules to play the game without a GM, and the lore and details of an in-setting band of mercenaries. In more detail, the book dives right into the occupations section with just a quick explanation. The original Sacrifice revolved around branded warriors that were touched by some demonic ritual, clearly mirroring a few characters from the inspirational material. The 2 new occupations offer non-branded options for play: commoners and knight-errants. Each one has a slightly different setup to the original branded, not just in immediate abilities, but even in the very character creation process itself. Commoners start at a lower level without the usual branded traits and with less abilities, but they get a bit more in terms of luck and saves. The Knight-Errant is the other occupation and starts between the commoner and the branded in terms of level. They get a bit more in terms of starting combat skills than the commoner, though still lack the various branded traits. Instead, they have a background with a noble house with a coat of arms and all. The new weapon advancement rules are meant to be an expansion and replacement for the ones in the core Sacrifice game. In the original game, characters started with a weapon touched by darkness, and theoretically any weapon could begin to accrue fragments of darkness just by using them against supernatural beings. The expanded system works in a similar manner, but offers a bit more advancement, as well as the opportunity to invest the weapons with traits that grant special supernatural abilities. These range from offensive and defensive powers to just general utility abilities, and offer a nice way to provide additional abilities to characters. The detailed starting wounds section is another that improves upon a system that's already present in the base game. In Sacrifice, each branded can start with certain wounds at the start of their career, suffered on the way to becoming a branded and marked being. In Companion, the system further explains the consequences of the simple wound table in the base game and includes potential game mechanic effects. New leveling options give a few different ways to produce higher-end characters faster. The original Sacrifice was a relatively grim system, and this one doesn't really change that, but does allow for slightly more powerful characters over time to face potentially more dangerous threats. The first optional rule simply gives more ways for individuals to get experience in more situations, allowing for faster leveling up. Then, an option is given to increase character abilities in more ways than are listed in the base game, albeit at the same levels, thus offering a more diverse way to customize an individual character over time. The new combat options section is by and large the more extensive set of additional rules and starts off with the idea of dueling. While combat in basic Sacrifice is more than adequate enough, being a very OSR-style combat system that follows classic tropes, the dueling system is specifically for individual pairs of warriors of similar skill. As such, it breaks the round into more steps, allowing for different moves and feints in addition to the classic maneuvers, which can result in a more cinematic matchup, useful for critical portions of a scene. Then there's the hit locations table, which can provide a bit more impact from wounds in general, including more penalties rather than simple loss of hit points. Given the inspiration for this entire system and the rate at which certain characters rack up injuries, this can be a great addition. The additional feats and maneuvers simply add several of each to a list of already provided in the core Sacrifice game. Ranging from analysis of fighting style to improved endurance to combat maneuvers such as battle cries and sneak attacks, many of these simply seem built to support the two new occupations, but also serve to benefit different approaches to the core system's combat. For instance, breath control and improved endurance can both interact with the stamina system in the core rules to make a fighter that can benefit from more extended engagements, wearing their opponent out over time. The final rules-heavy section of Companion is the GM-less rules and tools section. Designed to play Sacrifice either solo or with a few people but no GM, this section covers a basic oracle, determining the likelihood of certain events happening, along with a possibility of complications. There's an action and theme table that provide overarching, broad guidance on aspects of a story or event, then a sort of rollable AI system to determine opponents' decision-making during combat, a reaction system for determining what encounters may do when you first encounter them, and finally some modifications to dueling rules for duels against NPCs without a GM. As far as the final section of Companion in general, it features Desh-X-1000, a band of mercenaries that's run by an apostle. It gives lore on the savagery of the band's former days, some stat blocks for both normal and demonic members of the band, and then a stat block for Deshrak the Red in human and in apostle forms. The section closes out with a quick mention of their stronghold and some event tables to use for exploration around it. So, how does Companion stack up? Technically, it is as well written as the original Sacrifice, and shares that game's art style with stark and stylized art that manages to bear a kernel of the source inspiration while being its own thing. The background on Desh-X-1000 is very much in line with something you'd expect to see in Midland or some other similar fiction, and provides a decent source for both low and mid-level foes without even considering the apostle himself. As an additional rule selection for Sacrifice, every optional rule can be used either in isolation or together, and of them, only the dueling rules show a level of complexity that requires more than just a slight change in procedure, and even that one is pretty simple to pick up. While the optional rules presented here may subtly allow for more powerful characters in general, at least when you combine them, it's not enough to unbalance the game at any one point by a wide margin. Rather, they simply work together to allow for more customization of individual characters without needlessly burdening Sacrifice with much more than a few house rules might. The new occupations may seem a little less powerful than playing a full party of branded, starting at lower levels and offering less in the way of supernatural ability, but they do have the capability to advance just as far as any of the branded characters might. And fans of the inspirational material, especially Berserk, may easily see how one can make characters similar to many of Gut's companions without too much problem. At least, the non-magical ones for now. For what it is, Companion does an excellent job of filling in some of the gaps in the original Sacrifice material, and fans of that system will probably be very well pleased and very well served with picking it up. I would highly recommend it, and the more I see of this game, the more I'm really enjoying it. Now, I just can't wait until the magic rules show up. Before I wrap up here, I should note that while I have not set to review it, there is also a series of scenarios and a sandbox scenario available separately now in the form of Chronicles Volume 1. So if you're looking for more lore and some solid adventures for the setting and you don't have to come up with yourself, you might want to check that out as well. And I believe they do release material as part of their Patreon, although I'm not exactly sure on the details of that. The Patreon is listed in the book itself for those who wish to check it out. For now, this has been the RPG Crawler with my look at Sacrifice Companion. As always, links will be below. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment, got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. Until next time, take care and goodbye.
And if you are still watching, I would like to take the opportunity to thank my supporters, the top tiers of which are listed on the screen, without whose support I would not have been able to offer the variety of content that I have on this channel throughout the years. If you're feeling particularly generous and would like to join them, you can support the channel. There are a variety of options to do so. I have a Patreon, a Subscribe Star, as well as channel memberships enabled. If you are not in a position to contribute, simply leaving a like, a comment, or sharing my videos are all wonderful ways to help the channel grow without spending a dime, and are all greatly appreciated.